Jing Liu has been out for over a week now in Honkai Star Rail, and I can very confidently say that she is the best DPS in the game right now. So today, I want to give my top 2 reasons as to why I think this, and why I think that Jing Liu definitely outclasses every other DPS, including Imbibitor Lunae. Now, my first reason for this is pairing Jing Liu's amazing damage with also her consistency as a character. Now, as we all know, when Imbibitor Lunae came out, he had a lot of damage, and that was what drew a lot of people to him. But my biggest issue with Imbibitor Lunae was that he was not always consistently being able to output that kind of damage because he relies so much on using a bunch of skill points. Now, there are, ways for him to be able to mitigate the amount of skill points he's using. Like when he uses his ultimate, he gets 2 stacks of his Squama Sacrosancta. And while this, does help, it's not always going to be around, and you do end up having to run characters, or you're kind of forced to run characters that are, skill point neutral, skill point positive, just to make sure you can keep those skill points around for him, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does kind of limit the amount of characters that you can run with him to be able to have him performing at his best the most often. Then, we compare that to Jing Liu, where, sure, you have to build up Jing Liu at first because she doesn't start out at her best, but once you get those couple of skills in, or that one skill, and then, her using her technique as well to give herself a stack of syzygy, she will go into her spectral transmigration state. And the best part about this state, in my opinion, is that she doesn't use skill points while she's in this state, and this is also where her damage is at its absolute best. Which is really amazing, because for one, not using skill points when you're outputting your best damage is just positive for the entire team. And then secondly, because she's not using skill points in this state, it is easier to be able to have your buffers continue to give her even more buffs, whether you're running like a Bronya, Tingyun, or if you're running some debuffers like Pella or Silverwolf. Being able to run those characters with Jing Liu is going to be very effective. And especially with her not using skill points, you can just focus on using skill points with your supports, which I think is going to be a lot more valuable. And also, your healer, since Jing Liu's spectral transmigration state does take HP from Jing Liu's allies. Then, my second reason for why Jing Liu is the best DPS right now is because I do think it's very easy to get her to perform at her best. It's very easy to build her in that way. So, in terms of light cones, many destruction light cones are going to work well on her. So far on my account, I've only tested 2. I used Collapsing Sky for a while, and then I very recently pulled her signature light cone, so I've been using that as well. But I also have seen people using her with a bunch of other light cones, like Clara's light cone, and things of that nature. So she definitely can perform well with whatever light cones for destruction, but obviously her signature light cone is going to be her best bet. Then when it comes to relics, you could do one of 2 sets for the main relics. You could either run the ice set, which will give you some extra ice damage and crit damage, or you can run the quantum set, which some people might be like, why would you run the quantum set, an ice character? But the quantum set allows you to ignore a percentage of the enemy's defense, which is just going to make Jing Liu be able to hit for some more damage, which is really nice and can be very helpful as well. Then, in terms of the planar ornaments, Rutilant Arena is the best set for Jing Liu by far. And the great thing about it is, for Rutilant Arena, you need to hit 70% crit rate, which for some characters and some builds could be a little bit challenging. But for Jing Liu, because her Spectral Transmigration state gives her a massive crit rate boost, you honestly don't need to build that much crit rate on her to be able to reach that 70%. Especially including the additional crit rate that you'll get from the running the Rutilant set. I believe it's 8% that you get for that set. And by doing that, you'll get the Rutilant boost as well, which is very nice. And so because you get enough crit rate, you can focus on building up a lot more crit damage. Like I know with the signature light cone right now, she's sitting at just over 200% crit damage for my Jingliu. which is very strong. She is doing a lot of damage overall. So, to end it off here, with her consistency and her damage and just being able to get her to perform at her best a lot easier than it is for other DPSs, especially Imbibitor Lunae, I do think that Jing Liu is the best DPS right now. We're going to see how the game's going to shape out once Topaz gets released. I know she's going to be more of like a follow-up attack-oriented character, so we're going to have to see how that's going to play out. But if you are still on the fence about pulling Jing Liu, since we do only have about a week left on her banner, I do think that if you're looking for a DPS and you want to be able to, run mostly whoever you want with her and not be as restricted as you might be with Imbibitor Lunae or maybe some other DPSs, then I do definitely recommend using her. I've been using her a ton over the past week, and she has been absolutely fun. She's definitely one of my favorite characters to use right now, and it's definitely awesome to see other people use her as well. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think about Jing Liu. But with that, I'm going to end it off here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed and you haven't already, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell. But with that, I will see you all next time.